Hi, I'm Shauna Parsons, and you're watching another edition of Family Safety 123. We're talking about gun safety. Even if you don't have a gun in your home, you'll want to watch this. Kids are exposed to the concept of guns from a pretty young age. Guns are on TV and video games, and sometimes in our homes or at a friend's home. Today I'm talking to Officer Jimmy Price from the Portland Police Bureau to find out how parents should teach their kids about gun safety rules to keep them safe in those situations. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
So is this something that every child needs to know about? I know as a parent sometimes you get nervous talking to your kids if you think they might be too young for a certain subject.
Yes, every family should talk to their children about guns. It's never too early, and if your kid has a question, then it's time to talk about it.
So what about for families who don't keep a gun in their home? There might be some parents saying, I don't have a gun, I don't bring my kids to places where there's a gun. Why is it still important for them to have this conversation with their kids?
Well, kids can have contact with guns in a lot of places. They can have contact with them in school, at a friend's house, or even out on the street somewhere. You just never know.
And you can't just assume that those guns they might come into contact with are unloaded.
No, you can't, because more than half of the guns out there are always loaded and ready to use.
And these firearms might not be stored safely.
Yes, parents leave them in nightstands or leave them in the cabinet in the garage. This is not the recommended way to store them.
And Officer Price, a lot of these toy guns these days, they look really real. And I just read somewhere that kids between the ages of 2 and even all the way up to age 9 have a hard time telling the difference between a real gun and a toy gun.
Yes, most unintentional shootings happen when kids are playing with their friends, trying to show off, and kids as young as 3 years old now are strong enough to pull the trigger on most guns.
So what exactly do parents need to be teaching their kids about guns?
Well, first of all, guns are not toys. You need to teach your children if they see a gun to tell an adult and not to touch it. Most unintentional shootings occur when kids are playing with guns.
And at what age are they really ready to learn this stuff?
Children around the age of 8 and older are ready to learn about gun safety. At that age, they're able to comprehend it better.
Yeah, I found that with my kids a lot of times if I use personal examples or things I've learned about from the news or things in the community, it just makes it easier for them to get what I'm saying.
Yeah, the older your child gets, they can relate better to real life situations.
And Officer Price, this really goes beyond just talking about gun safety. We have to be good examples too, right? Because our kids, they watch everything we do as parents.
Yes, if you have a gun, you want to be a good role model for your kid. And this includes good gun safety practices. Like if you have a gun, you want to keep it locked away, preferably in a gun safe, and also keep your ammunition locked up separately.
Well, I'm definitely one of those parents who wants to know if there's going to be a gun in the home where my kids are playing, but it can be a really awkward conversation to have with another parent. Do you have any advice for parents like me?
That's a good question, Shauna. You want to be able to talk to the other parents where your child is going to be staying. And you also want to be able to talk to your relatives. And when you ask them, you want to make it a part of your normal discussion, like if there's going to be any animals there, if there's any allergies.
Well, that's a really good point because you would ask, is somebody going to be home while my child's there, or do you have a pool? So just keep it along the lines of some of the other basic safety questions you would ask that parent. Okay, so when you ask the question, what if then the answer on the other end is, yes, I do have a gun in my home? What next?
Well, first you want to ask how they store their gun and if it's going to be accessible to your kid or not. And then you want to make sure that they know they're not just hiding it, because kids pay a lot of attention to where parents hide their things. And as we know, kids can get into anything.
I guess really it just comes down to the parents and feeling comfortable with what they're hearing on the other end, because really when it comes down to it, it's your child's safety we're talking about here.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for sharing that great information with us today, Officer Price.
You're welcome.
All right, so here are the 3 main points to remember. Number 1, teach children not to touch a gun and to tell an adult if they find a gun. Number 2, be a role model for your children about gun safety. And number 3, talk with other adults about whether they have guns in their house. A little education with your child about gun safety can go a long way, and talking with others about firearms is an important step to protect our children.